we are not the podcast that is just going to shower praise all over the Giants and talk about the Giants after Carlos Correa. We are the podcast that comes in, where did he leave? And we're going to improve that team. Because we know a lot of fans of the Minnesota Twins are very sad that their player, Carlos Correa, left. And we also can't really blame the Twins because these same Minnesota Twins offered 10 years, $285 million for Carlos Correa. Yeah. They have the money. This is clear. So we can be strategic while playing general manager of the Minnesota Twins. Last year, the Twins were in first place for a while. They looked like the team to beat, and then they faltered. They finished 78 and 84. Their rotation was not very good. It was plagued with injuries. They finished 20th in team ERA from the starting rotation. The bullpen wasn't very good either, but they added Jorge Lopez at the deadline, who is nasty. But the offense is still pretty solid, but they lack a lot of speed. They actually ranked 30th in stolen bases last year. And you lose the best hitter on the team. That is Carlos Correa. You could say it's Byron Buxton, but at this point, Buxton plays 100 games a year. When he plays,
that was the goal. The goal was 100 games.
And that would be awesome if he played 100 games. Luis Ariz was a batting champ. Hit 316 last year. They still have Jorge Polanco at shortstop. Their rotation actually looks pretty solid, but there are moves to be made. And usually how we start these episodes off, let's start with the locks. So you have roster resource pulled up with the Minnesota Twins. Who do you think are the few guys that they ain't moving? These are the players for the Minnesota Twins next year. Then we can be strategic with the lineup, with the rotation. We'll end with the bullpen, and we're going to make this team better for Twins fans. We are.
Yes. So, I think obviously Buxton lock, that's a guy that's in center field for however long he's able to play center field. Polanco, I think, should play second. He's a lock to play the middle infield for them. Miranda's not going anywhere, I don't think, in any situation. And obviously they just added Christian Vasquez. So from the lineup perspective, those are the immovable guys. Like, those are the guys that I'm expecting to be locked in there. And then Arias, like, I know he's been floated. I don't know if they move him. Like, the only way I could see them moving him is if it's a very, very obvious, impact pitcher, which we'll get to. And, I think they could put together a trade package without parting with Arias. I don't understand why you would want to trade one of the few proven hitters, I think, on your roster. They're going to have to rely on a lot of youngsters.
Here's why I think you can trade Luis Ariz. If you look at the Twins' infield depth, we talk about Nick Gordon at second base. We talk about who was pretty good last year, I thought. I mean, he hit 272. He was an OPS around 750. This guy is 27 years old, and he was also kind of a top prospect. Like, I think that Nick Gordon is a very solid player who can also play some shortstop. Speaking of shortstop, they have Jorge Polanco. Then at third base right now is slated to be Jose Miranda. But then they also have Royce Lewis coming back and Brooks Lee. Like we talked about in the draft, who are the most MLB-ready hitters that the Marlins should draft? And it was Brooks Lee. Like
Jacob Berry.
I thought Brooks Lee should have gone number 1 overall. I loved Brooks Lee coming out of Cal Poly. I think he's going to be a doubles machine. So, and the thing about Luis Ariz is his value comes from being able to play all over the infield. He can play second base. He can play third base. He can play everywhere. Playing him at first base, I feel like you're just rotting him away. Not because
he kind of sucks defensively everywhere, though. Like, that's the thing.
Okay, we can talk about that, but it's not. It's kind of like DJ LeMahieu, except DJ LeMahieu for the Yankees can play a bunch of different positions at a very high level. Arias maybe not, but would you rather Arias play second base for your team all hitting 316 and then add a big slugger at first base? Or would you just put Luis Ariz at first? I feel like that just diminishes his value so much. And when you have Jose Miranda, you could bring up Royce Lewis. And then you can move Jorge Polanco around.
Well, I think the second Royce Lewis is healthy, he's got to be in the lineup. I think Royce Lewis is one of the X factors that, could put this team over the top. And that's a guy that I want, playing some short, playing some center when Buxton's not out there, doing a little bit of everything. My issue is what's the better, where are you getting a better option at first base over Arias?
Miranda. You put Miranda at first.
Then who plays third?
You could put, potentially when you bring up Brooks Lee.
Yeah, but that's what, midway through the season?
Jorge Polanco maybe could play third.
Now you're moving guys around. Like we're moving dudes
but Jorge
around.
Polanco already isn't a very good defensive shortstop.
Which is why he plays second. He hasn't played third since 2016, where he played 9 games there.
We're being creative. Thad Levine, he's the GM of the Twins. We're being creative here. I'm not saying we have to trade Luis Arias. I'm just more pointing out the fact of how they could. Because if Brooks Lee is then your potential third baseman, then where does Miranda go?
I just think if you're operating under the presumption that Brooks Lee can climb up to the bigs and make an impact and being above average regular bat, I think that's a huge presumption. Like, I love Brooks Lee, but I mean, this guy was drafted last year. Like, I'm not basing any big league decision on Brooks Lee personally. If anything, I'm trying to trim some fat. Like, they've got so many dudes. I'm trying to figure out, like, when Royce Lewis comes back, you have an infield situation of Arias, Polanco, Miranda, Nick Gordon, Royce Lewis. They also have Kyle Farmer, who they signed to a big league deal. That's 6 dudes that they got to figure out, where they fit in on the infield. And then of course, that's not even mentioning Kirilloff, who, presumably plays some outfield, but also plays a lot of first as well. That's 7 guys. So how do you find the space for each of these guys? Like, I think Miranda is locked in at third. I don't think he budges from third. So at shortstop, second base is the big question. And I want Polanco at short. I think he's brutal there. I would rather see Lewis, there after, in Farmer there, maybe even for a little bit. But I just think Arias is one of the few consistent bats on this roster. Like, who else do you feel good about? Like, if I told you got to put money on a guy to have a 120 WRC plus or better next year, and then they have to qualify, obviously, who are you putting your money on?
Well, it's all about qualifying for Buxton.
Yes, that's why I did that.
I have confidence that Polanco can do that. If Kepler stays healthy, I have somewhat of confidence that he can do that. And Jose Miranda, I have confidence that he can do that. But this is, I guess, the point, right? You're talking about this massive influx of infielders, and Luis Arias right now at market value can get you the most. And while he is one of the most consistent hitters, the problem really for this Twins team has been more pitching rather than offense. If we look at last year, I know losing Correa is tough, and there are still free agents available. We just wrote an article on justbaseball.com, the top 10 remaining free agents that are left. There are still offensive players available. I would love to see them get a lefty. Like, how about moving Kirilloff to first, signing an outfielder, and moving Arias for pitching? Like, I think that is very plausible, and I think would make this team overall better, because you never know with Arias. Like, he's been very consistent, but let's say he hits 294 next year. Doesn't have that full another season like he did. Then you can't really trade him for much. So if you're going to move off him in this time where you have Kyle Farmer, you have Jorge Polanco, Nick Gordon, Miranda, Kirilloff, Royce Lewis coming up, this is the time where you should capitalize on him. I'm not saying we should trade him, but I think if we can get a Pablo Lopez from the Marlins, if we can get a big-time starting pitcher, don't you think that's worth it?
That's the only way. That's the only way. And I will say, I believe in Kirilloff big time. So, I mean, that sells me a little bit, and I think he can play first base. And they've got a logjam in the outfield too, which is interesting, of prospects that are kind of redundant. You have Kepler, who is very similar to Matt Wallner, who is very similar to Trevor Larnach, who is, I wouldn't say Kirilloff similar to those guys. He's a better hitter, but like there's a lot of redundancy in that outfield, man. And like, I think if you could find a way to trim that fat in some ways and somehow supplant that to, have good pitching, impact pitching, I think that makes sense. And the challenge for them is, if they want to try to make a trade, like let's say with the Marlins, hypothetically, I don't think the Marlins are going to have interest in Wallner or Larnick because, I don't think there's too much uncertainty with those guys. Like they're trying to find bats that can help them now. So you probably do have to trade a Luis Arias to get a Pablo Lopez. So in that case, yeah, I think it makes sense. But the problem is, okay, let's say you can't work a deal with Lopez out. How many teams are willing to trade an impactful arm for a bat right now? That's where I was searching through the big leagues, searching from team to team to team. It seems like the Marlins and the Twins are the best match. And that's the only way I'm trading Arias is if I'm getting a Pablo Lopez or a Trevor Rogers. And I think for them, I would assume, I do think they need a lefty, but I would assume that they'd prefer Pablo just given that he's, safer. But I could understand if they wanted a Trevor Rogers instead. I think unless you're getting one of those guys, it doesn't make sense to trade Arias, but that seems to be where we're at with a move, right? If you're going to trade for an arm, Arias is probably your best trade chip because they don't have that much left in the farm and they already, depleted the farm pretty good.
So I'll be Thad Levine. You be Kim Ng.
Okay. I say to you real quick.
I'll say to you, Aram, I'm willing to give you Luis Arias and Bailey Ober. And Bailey Ober throws strikes. He's not the sexiest name. I would almost counter with he is the least sexy name in all of Major League Baseball because he's like what we'd like to call potentially a stock righty.
Yeah.
He is going to throw strikes. If he stays healthy, he's going to give you innings. He's not going to kill you, but he's also not going to uplift you.
Yeah.
But you know who will uplift you? Luis Arias.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to put both of those two guys, because I assume if you're the Marlins, like you don't want to give up Pablo and get no pitching in return. Yuri Perez is coming, but he's not quite there yet. You have Sandy, you have Trevor, you have Luzardo, you have Edward Cabrera. You have pitchers, but I think getting a Bailey Ober would help. We don't have to include him, but I'm Thad, you're Kim. Let's make a deal. I have Luis Arias, I have Bailey Ober. What would you give me?
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I do think there's part of the Marlins that wants that insurance arm, and I also think there's another part of the Marlins that wants to get some prospects on top of him because their system's getting thinner quick as guys continue to pan out offensively. I would say something around like Arias, Edouard Julien, like that would be something I think they would really like. I don't know why that, like, I would make this deal tomorrow if I'm the Marlins. Like, I understand some fans want a little bit more impact if you're trading a Pablo Lopez, but, to kind of make this point on the Marlins side, it's like, okay, what else am I looking for? If I'm looking for, the Marlins are just looking for offense, right? Where are you going to find better than a 130 WRC plus? I don't care about the defensive limitations. Like, he's competent at second. He's competent at first. The Marlins need production. That's it. I don't care what it looks like. And Luis Arias can give you that. Kim Ng has said specifically that the team is targeting contact-oriented players because that's their new philosophy. The Jorge Solers of the world and the Avi Garcias of the world didn't work. So they decided, hey, we don't want swing for the fences. We want consistent contact. Arias fits that to a T. He's maybe the best example of that in baseball. So to me, Arias, and you throw in Edouard Julien and a lower level arm like, Raya, I'm in. Like, I'm done. I'm doing it because I think for the Marlins, like, that moves the needle for them. And Lopez is expendable. I really think he is for them at this point. And like we said, for the Twins, I think Lopez is like the bar of like no worse. I'm not trading Arias for any worse, but Lopez is good enough, I think, to justify making the move, especially with the control that he comes with.
Okay. My name is Thad, and my job is to make the Twins better. I'm saying no to that deal. Julian /300, 441, 490 in AA as a 23-year-old, plays a nice second base for him, has decent hit, decent power.
He's disgusting. I love Edouard Julien.
He's a good player. I'm saying no to that deal if all I'm getting is Pablo Lopez, because Pablo Lopez is a great pitcher, But also, he's dealt with some injury concerns at points.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
Like,
that's a worry. You know,
I need
they have
some more.
Malley and Gray.
Because who are we talking about? I'm thinking about too many names here.
Pablo Lopez.
No,
Luis
Luis
Ariz
Ariz is a very good player. Like even Luis Ariz for Pablo Lopez, like I don't know how far off that is. So if we're giving you Julian on top of it, I need more, Kim. I need more. I got the Twins back. I need a little bit more. It doesn't have to be crazy, but I need a little bit more here.
You're killing me.
I'm killing
You're
you.
absolutely killing me.
I'm here for the Twins. They just lost Correa. We're not about to get stolen from. I like Pablo. Luis Ariz won the batting title, my friend.
Bro, you were just, you were just kind of making the opposite case. I love it. I love it. No, I that's the thing that's interesting because, you know, Arias, I think his ceiling is kind of limited, as we know. You know, but his floor is so high. I mean,
I think Luis Ariz is the best player in baseball. So make me a trade for him.
Okay. Okay. But here's the thing: what is the value of a pitcher with 2 years of control that had the year that he had last year? Like, I'd argue that, you know, you got to add a little bit on top of Arias, like 1 for 1, right? It's not going to totally match up. Arias is a free agent in 2026. He has an extra year of control. I mean, what else can the Marlins really add there? Like, I think you go Arias and you give me another prospect, like a slightly less. Give me a Raya, just give me Miguel Raya or whatever, and then we'll call it a day. Like, if that's what it takes, like, I think that still makes sense for the Marlins. I might get flack for that, like from Marlins people. I know our friend Christian Crespo, contributor at Just Baseball, is going to hate that because he's not the biggest Arias believer. But, you know, when you look at what he was able to do, you know, last year, he's already becomes the Marlins, you know, I think second best hitter, like from the jump. A healthy Jazz Chisholm, I think, is number 1. And then you have Arias in terms of most productive hitters. So give me a couple mid-level prospects, and I think I'll call it a deal.
Okay. You're
Marco
welcome,
Raya. Give me Marco Raya and
Marco Raya. I like Marco
Raya and Ronnie Enriquez. Give me Ronnie Enriquez. I think he's nasty out of the. He could be a good bullpen arm for him. So
I like Ronnie Enriquez.
I'm sure you do.
No, in Moneyball, you don't even know who that is.
Give me Ronnie Enriquez and Raya, and we got a deal.
And Luis Ariz, give me a sweetener from the Marlins. I'm looking at your guys' top. What are you talking about? I'm looking at the top prospects for a little bit. I'm trying to look at somebody who I think can help us out a little bit. I'd like you to add Joe Mack to that deal. He's a catcher. He's 19 years old.
No shot.
Okay, so how do I get Joe Mack? Because we need a catcher after Christian Vasquez is done.
I hung up.
We can still talk. Hey, don't hang up the phone yet. We can still talk. If I want Joe Mack, one of their
prospects at this point.
Well, you know I don't want Jose Salas.
He's not an option either, bro. What are you talking about?
What do I have to? All we're doing is talking here. All we're doing is talking. If I wanted Joe Mack, and Twins fans, you'll like Joe Mack. Get him out of Miami. He's a 19-year-old. He's a catcher. He's one of the Marlins' best offensive prospects, which is not saying much. But what is, you know, he was a 768 OPS guy last year in A-ball. He's a 19-year-old. He's a lefty. You guys will like him. Don't worry about him. We'll take him. I want him. Let's not act like he's gold. He had a 760
to the Marlins.
OPS.
He is, dude. They have no catchers. That's not happening. Like I'm telling you, there's a 0% chance.
Okay. Who else do I like?
You can have Victor Mesa.
No, I'd rather not have him at all. God,
just take it, dude.
You know who I want? I want Griffin Conine.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. You can take him.
I want Griffin Conine.
Free my boy.
Griffin, you hear me?
Yeah.
I want you. I want
all right,
Griffin
free my
Conine.
boy. Take him.
Dude hits 40 plus home runs in the minor leagues. Outfielder. I think he'll be better than Wallner and Larnick, or at least that good. I want him, and I want Pablo Lopez. Give me the trade. What's the trade for those two?
Done. It's what we got. The breakdown is Arias. I want Marco Raya got so many some more names. And then I want, what was the last guy we said? Arias, Mark Araya.
Enrique
And then
something.
you're not giving me Julian, which is disrespectful.
We need him.
Yeah, throw me as the final piece, throw me Aaron Sabato.
I like him.
First base. Oh, no, you don't. He had 179 in Double A. Throw me Aaron Sabato.
All right, you could have Aaron Sabato. So right now we just traded away Luis Ariz, and what we got back is Pablo Lopez. So now what we're talking about here is we're going to suffer on offense a little bit in the early goings when we were having Kyle Farmer at shortstop. We just gave up Luis Ariz. We're moving Kirilloff to first base. In our outfield right now, it's Larnick, it's Kepler, it's Buxton. And then at shortstop, we're going with Royce Lewis, Nick Gordon, and Jose Miranda at second base and third base. And that's our team right now.
Yeah.
We need to add, now we go to the free agent market and we add some bats. Who are some of your favorite bats that we can add in order to offset that Luis Ariz trade? Because we're going to get to the rotation in a minute, because now we don't have to do much because the rotation is actually very good at this point.
So are we for sure keeping Matt Kepler? I think he's the most likely guy to get dealt. But if you're trading Ariz, keep Kepler. You know what I'm saying?
And I like Kepler. I do.
That was going to be the other approach I was going to take, was like Kepler plus like pieces for Lopez. Lopez.
If you guys will take Kepler instead,
I'm good with Ariz. We're good.
Yeah,
I was going to say like Kepler and good pieces, but that makes it a lot more challenging, I think.
I think you're saying that to me now to make me look bad now for trading Luis Ariz, but let's be honest. If I was like Max Kepler and pieces for Pablo,
I was trying to figure out what, like, it would be legit pieces, right? It would be really good complementary pieces. That's the thing is what do the Twins prefer? Because I think the alternative would be like you could do Kepler, and then I don't think they trade Kirilloff, and then that's the problem is the Marlins. I don't think Wallner. There's too much uncertainty there, and Larnick even like I don't know if that was the needle for them with Kepler. It doesn't really make sense. Another left-handed hitting outfielder, so it would be Kepler and then prospects that don't make as much of an impact. I think they would prefer Arias, obviously, if they're trying to win, at least be more competitive next year. So, and also like on a serious point, like there's, if the Twins wanted an arm, I think some arms that they would probably be interested in that could be, nice pickups for them would be potentially like, they wouldn't do Jacob Miller, but like Zach McCambly, who's friend of the call up, good stuff, like could be a bullpen arm by next year. And they're looking for those types of guys. So like a McCambly could be an option instead of my good friend Griffin Conine, but I'm happy to send him to the Twins. He'd be better off there. All right, so free agent bats. Dansby doesn't make sense, right? Because I think we there's an infielders here, and unless you're getting Correa, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Now we're moving Kirilloff to first, right? And we're kind of banking on him being the guy, which means, which kind of means that the outfield looks like Kepler, looks like probably Larnick, and then Buxton.
Yes.
We have Wallner. The goal would be to upgrade over Larnick, right?
Yes. We need a left fielder. I mean, I have the perfect option.
Who do you want?
I want Michael Conforto.
So another lefty bat, though.
Yes, but when we look at the team right now, we just traded a lefty. Buxton's a righty. Polanco's a switch. Kepler's a lefty. Miranda's a righty. Gordon's a lefty. Larnick is a lefty who we're upgrading anyway. Vasquez is a righty, and
Lewis will be in the lineup. He'll be
Lewis
a righty.
Is a righty, so I don't think it really matters. I think it's lefty or righty. This team is pretty split down the middle, especially trading away a lefty. I don't think we should worry about lefty righty. I think we get the best bat available. So okay. I think Conforto makes a lot of sense. He's not going to be very expensive, but the Twins also have money to burn. Like they said, they'd give 10 years, 285 to Correa. So it's not like we have to be cheap here. Who are some of the best outfielders available? Also, we could make more trades for outfielders. Like, Varsho is available. That's not out of the realm of possibility that they can make a trade for him. There's other outfielders on the market who we could look at.
I like Conforto in this role, right? Because they're hoping that, Kirilloff makes a big leap this year, and some of their other prospects make a big leap. And you know, signing Conforto, he wants a short-term deal similar to what we saw with Correa. I think, you know, it helps them be competitive this year, but doesn't, you know, block anybody and doesn't create any more of a, you know, a logjam or really trying to figure out what you're going to do in the future here. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I could see Conforto being that safe option. They need kind of just, especially if you're going to part with Arias, like just another kind of pure hitter. I know he's not as elite bat to ball wise, but you know, I think Conforto's just a good hitter and brings some consistency to this lineup. So I'm in. I think that's the signing they make, and they can come in a little bit higher on a 1-year deal with a, you know, mutual option on the second year, because like we said, I mean, they just saved a lot of money by not being able to win the sweepstakes of Carlos Correa. On the other side too is like Rodon. Like, could we see them shelling out money for Rodon? Ultimately, I think they get outbid on him too. So I like Conforto. I think that's the perfect addition as well.
I think Conforto is a good addition. We could also talk about Andrew Benintendi. Like we said, we have money to spend. Could Benintendi be the better option there? Probably more of a guarantee. And I know the Twins are probably looking for a guarantee, but to your point, they have outfield depth, so they could try for Conforto. Like, I think at Conforto's peak, he could actually be a better hitter than Benintendi is.
For sure.
But Benintendi is kind of the proven entity here.
Even more so of that, like adjacent to Arias guy, bat to ball, right? Like
Exactly.
Just put the ball in play. And look, I mean, they've got power, right? Buxton can slug, Polanco can slug, Kepler can slug, Miranda can slug, you know, Larnach, Kirilloff, all those guys can slug. That's not a bad, it's going to be cheaper. So that's I guess cheaper AV, but Benintendi's going to be more expensive and a longer commitment, right? He's going to command 3-4 years, or at least try to. I know you prefer Conforto, the baseball player, but
I do.
And I do too, assuming he's healthy. I think this team needs to roll the dice a little bit. And you already kind of know what you're getting with Benny, which is a good and bad thing. I almost don't want to know totally what I'm getting. I want to have a little bit to dream on here. You know, does that make sense? Like, I want a little bit to dream on here. Give me Conforto. I want Conforto. All right. Are we in on that?
I'm in on that. We just signed Michael Conforto. We offered him a 2-year, $34 million deal. Or does he only need 1 year?
I think he wants 1 year with a mutual option on the second year.
So what's the offer? Or Thad?
What did Bellinger get? 17 and a half?
For 17 and a half.
So like, he gets more. Obviously, Conforto get more. I don't know. More? What's better, not less, playing or right? Sucking?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, what's better? I'd say like the same thing. Like the same thing.
Let's do 16. Okay. You didn't play, dude. You didn't play. You're not getting the same as Bellinger.
Bellinger's a guaranteed Gold Glove caliber outfielder.
He played
with MVP, you know, credentials.
We'll give him
we'll go 1 year, 16.
Okay. So we gave him a mutual option, maybe, you know, with incentives. And we just signed Michael Conforto. So now in the outfield, we're moving Larnach to the bench. So right now it's Kepler, Buxton, and Conforto. It's not a bad outfield.
No, not bad at all. And I like Larnach as like a platoon guy. He's a sneaky good defender.
You know you're going to need him when Buxton goes down.
That's the thing. Is like everyone's like, oh, but you know, what are you going to do with all these guys and whatever? Like, there's a lot of teams. We were talking about that with the Mariners last year, right? And all of a sudden, like, Kyle Lewis goes down, Kelenic stinks, like Evan White doesn't play a game, and all of a sudden, all this just presumed depth. And you know, you also see struggles from some of the vets. Like, all presumed depth was like gone. So you want to have that, especially with a Buxton and with Kepler's ability to slide over to center, if Buxton's hurt before Lewis gets back or Lewis's return is delayed or whatever it may be, you're fine with Larnach on the bench. I think Wallner is a guy I'm now shopping for a reliever, personally.
Yeah. So we could talk about that. Let's just go over the rotation. But first, you know, they still have Kyle Garlick. They still have Celestino in the outfield. Farmer obviously is a shortstop kind of stopgap guy. And then they have Ryan Jeffers as their backup. So I think, are we done with the offense at least at this point? First base again, Alex Kirilloff. Catcher, Christian Vasquez. In the outfield, it's Conforto, Buxton, and Kepler, which I do like.
I think that's a fun, and that could be a elite defensive outfield if Conforto is still what he once was a pretty good defender in the corner.
Agreed. And I'm glad we went him over Benintendi because personally, I mean, you know me, listeners of the Just Baseball Show know me. I'm not a Benintendi guy.
Yeah.
I'm not a Benintendi guy. He had a 122 WRC plus this year. let me see you do it again, because I don't think it's going to happen. And then in the infield, Nick Gordon, Jose Miranda, Jorge Polanco, Kyle Farmer, Alex Kirilloff, and Royce Lewis.
Yeah.
A lot of depth, a lot of high upside pieces there. Now, in the rotation, we just made it pretty damn good. Sonny Gray is going to lead your rotation, followed by Pablo Lopez, or you could lead with Pablo, whoever you like better. Sonny Gray at a 3.08 ERA. He only threw 119 innings, but he's still a very good arm. Joe Ryan, another really good arm. Remember that trade? That was one where the Twins won easily. They traded Joe Ryan for Nelson Cruz from the Rays, but the Rays are kicking themselves right now. That was an excellent trade by Thad.
That was a 40-man crunch. Rays hit the panic button.
And they gave away Joe Ryan, and now he's one of the better pitchers in their rotation and one of the better young pitchers in the American League at 26 years old. They still have Tyler Mahle. Still really like him. Kenta Maeda is coming back. And then you have Pablo Lopez. So the rotation, Gray, Pablo, Ryan, Tyler Mahle, and Kenta Maeda. That's good.
Yep.
That's good.
I Kim Hang just called you back.
Okay.
We're gonna make a tweak to the trade.
No, we said yes.
No. It didn't get sent to the league's office yet. I think you'll like this one better, and I think it makes more sense.
Reported by Heyman.
Yeah, well, exactly. So we got plenty of time. So we can.
Heyman said ARRIZ to the Marlins. Ariz to the Marlins.
So I was thinking about it. Nick Gordon, if the Marlins are getting Arias, I think the Marlins have some interest in Nick Gordon. Let's clear some space on that roster for the Twins.
Wow.
Gordon and Arias for Lopez.
No.
Done.
I'm turning it down.
Gordon's not that good.
He is that good. He could be good, and that is too much. It's too much.
That's too much?
Too much. I need more. If you're going to put Gordon in there, we just put in some like fine prospects from the Twins, and you're upgrading it to Gordon? What are you trying to rob us? I'm Thad Levine as the Twins. I ain't getting robbed.
Thad Levine. All right, Thad. I will
trade. I'm putting a gun to your head. Accept the trade.
I'll throw in Sixto.
Right
I heard Sixto's throwing from 60.
I don't want that hologram of a person.
How about
I heard Sixto's throw from
60 feet and even like doing some armbands and working out and stuff.
How many days a week? Once?
3.
I'm going with 2. I'll take the under.
I was just thinking about it. I'm like, that does make sense. If there's like a guy that the Twins don't really need, it's probably Gordon. Like they don't need him as the contingency plan in center. If we just sign an outfielder, let me sweeten the deal a little bit. I'll give you.
You're just trying to save face for the Marlins.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna get my ass
good.
Cooked.
I'll come at them. Marlins fans, you listen to me. This trade makes sense. I'm confident that Aram, if he was put in the GM chair, would make your team better. And he just
thank you. I do feel that way better. Too.
You guys got to relax. What, you don't want to make a trade? You like your 65 wins that you'll get next year? Make the trade. Shut up. Grow up. You're fine.
Grow up. All right, then we'll call it what it was.
It's a good
trade.
Leave
it at that.
You got Luis Arraez.
Yeah.
What, did we forget?
Yeah. Yes.
Did we forget?
Yes, because I thought about the rest of my team, and as Kim Ang, if I were truly Kim Ang, I would want to run it back as is. So, no, I'm good. We'll leave it at that. All right. So now we go to the rotation, right? Which is
Gray, Pablo, Ryan, Tyler Mahle, Kenta Maeda, and then you have Bailey Ober as the
I love Ober as the alternate here. And here's why. Sonny Gray missed time with injury. Mahle missed time with injury. Maeda coming off an injury. Pablo Lopez, injury concern. You need the insurance. It's same thing with the outfield, right? Like you go into a year, like we went into last year, if we're talking about the Marlins, like thinking, oh, wow, their rotation is chock full of studs. And then Jordan Holloway's making starts. Like your depth will disappear quickly. So I like that a lot. And then they have Chris Paddock coming back whenever he comes back, which I don't think will be next year. But it just good to have starting pitching depth.
Exactly. So now let's move to the bullpen, because the bullpen, while it didn't perform all that well last year, the bullpen finished 16th in ERA. The addition of Jorge Lopez from the Orioles was a big get. And you combine him with Yohan Duran, who throws 103, He's one of the best young relievers in the sport at just 25 years old.
Mhm.
You have Griffin Jax, who actually pitched very well for them last year. You got Thielbar, who is a guy, had a
He's a
3.49
human.
ERA in 59 innings. You have Emilio Pagan, who I do not like, and I don't think Twins fans like him either, because all he did when I watched him and when I bet on games with the Twins, he was a home run machine. This guy gave up a home run every 5 seconds. And he walked the world. He has big strikeout stuff, but a lot of his balls get hit to the freaking moon. I'd prefer not to have him really around all that much. Alcala is a guy who threw 2 innings for them last year. They have Giovanni Moran, who actually pitched very well for them last year, 2.21 ERA in 40 innings, and they still have Trevor McGill. I want to add a lefty because Thielbar is their lefty, but he's 36 years old. I want to look at Taylor Rogers or Andrew Chafin, and I think the better of the two is Chafin. I really want to sign Andrew Chafin to this.
Yeah, relievers are expensive, right? But we got cash.
We didn't sign Benintendi. We got cash.
I'm in. I think Chafin. I'm 100% in on signing Andrew Chafin.
Okay. How do we trade for Devin Williams? I'm not saying that we have to, but how would we do it? What would it take?
I don't know if the Brewers would do it, man.
I don't know if they do it either, but
it would take. I think it would take a pretty good haul. I mean,
let's workshop.
With what we've seen, the market be financially for relievers, and now you're getting a guy that's under control till 2026 and is proven as one of the best relievers in the game, and who Milwaukee's, I think, anticipating to close for them, this coming season. It would be, I think as much as Josh Hader, if not more.
I think that's fair. So let's just say that we're not going to do it because we don't want to gut a farm system for a reliever anyway.
Let's pivot.
So we already signed Chafin. We gave him a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd give him 3. Chafin. I'd give him 3.
Fuck it.
Everyone's getting big deals. 3-year deal.
Welcome to the team, Andrew Chafin. You are a Minnesota Twin. Who else? There isn't a lot to be desired for on the free agent market. We could say we're signing Taylor Rogers, but again, he is another lefty. Is there anyone else free agent wise on the relief side that we want to bring in? Because we don't need a lot. I mean, we kind of do. There's this bullpen is so top heavy. I have so much confidence in Lopez, Duran, and Jax. And then in my opinion, it kind of falls off a cliff. I'm excited to see what Moran does. He's a young guy, had a good year last year, but I do not want Emilio Pagan throwing. I don't. I mean, maybe he turns it around, but we need to add more to this bullpen, and we have the money. Who should we go get? Because Carlos Estevez is gone.
Yeah, is there a chance maybe they have an interest in bringing Mike Fulmer back? Fulmer, they traded for him at the deadline. He was pretty good for them. That guy, Adam Ottavino, is another one that I think could. I like Ottavino as a guy that's just capable of shutting the door when Duran's not available or whoever. I always believe, I've always said it. I'll say it on every GM episode. I just want to have those plan B closers and those plan C closers, guys that I can trust in the big spots. And Ottavino, I think can do that, even though he's been frustrating for some fans at some points. You look at the numbers overall, the guy just gets outs in big spots. Yeah,
that's perfect. Let's sign Adam Ottavino. Is it going to take 3 years? Or maybe 2. He's kind of older.
I think Chafin 2, and we're going to walk that back. And then 3, I think it might. I think 2 years for both those guys. For both those guys.
Let's just say we signed them to a cumulative of 5 years. Whether we gave it to Chafin for 3 or we gave it to Ottavino for 3. One of them got 3, one of them got 2. I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now the bullpen looks like Jorge Lopez, Yohan Duran, Griffin Jax, Adam Ottavino, Andrew Chafin, Moran, Thielbar, and then you can put Emilio Pagan in spots when you want, and you have Trevor McGill. That's a bullpen. That is a bullpen. And then you combine it with the rotation of Gray, Pablo, Joe Ryan, Molly, and Maeda with Ober as the alternate there. And then in the lineup again is Buxton, Kepler, and Conforto in the outfield. We have in the infield, Kirilloff at first, Gordon at second, Um, Polanco at short right now, and then Moran at third. But then you can move it around when Royce Lewis gets back. You can move one of those guys to DH, and then you have Christian Vasquez behind the plate. It's a good team.
So we're playing Gordon at second.
I don't know. What do you want to do?
I'd rather put Polanco. I mean, Gordon's better than freaking Kyle Farmer, though.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I mix and match with that. See what works best.
These are our guys. These are our guys. That's for Rocco Baldelli to decide. We gave him the piece.
Couple of things that I want to add into the bullpen side of things. Like I think there's a couple arms that could be pretty solid for them within their own ball club. Like I do think Josh Winder is going to get better. I think Matt Canarino is a really good internal option for them as well. As a guy that, has battled health issues, could end up making the full-time move to the bullpen, but he's nasty. He's had success in the upper minors. And then if you could trade Matt Wallner, because the Braves are an interesting fit. The Braves need corner outfield help, especially now that Contreras is hurt or is gone. Excuse me. They have Ozuna still. They have Eddie Rosario, who is really struggled last year, and whatever was going on with his eyes too. Wallner could be an option for them, and they don't really have any prospects I love coming up in the outfield. And they traded Justin Henry Malloy to the Tigers, so Wallner. I would say if we could pull off like a Wallner trade as well for a couple Braves guys, that could be like a couple Braves upper level like arms that could be interesting as well.
Let's do it. Let's do it as we end.
Okay.
So we want prospects from the Braves, you're saying?
Yeah, or like a couple close to big league ready relievers. Because I'm looking at their bullpen. Their bullpen's either guys they just signed or guys that they probably won't move. I don't know if you saw, like, if you have their bullpen up on roster resource, like it's guys that they either just added or probably are not trading, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think there's really many options there. I was clicking on their bullpen. I gave it a quick sweep and I was like, I don't think. But one thing I do know about the Atlanta Braves is that they have arms, and they have a lot of arms that are pretty close to big league ready. Like a guy like Jared Schuster.
Yeah.
Like could Ian Anderson be a guy who's dealt?
I wonder about that too. And that's another depth arm for them. Victor Vodnik is a bullpen arm I think could be really good. Hits triple digits, is really nasty. They've got dudes. It's just do the Twins want to trade Wallner, a guy who I know they think could be a really impactful power bat that walks a lot, for a couple reliever arms. Like, are we underselling Wallner, and is it better to let him mash in AAA and maybe trade him later?
I think
after
let's trade him later. Let's let him hit a little bit. Like let's let him get another kind of maybe a couple months under his belt, and like let's hope he
AAA hits. And then,
because also let's not pretend that this outfield that we've created is going to be healthy all year.
Yeah,
like
I know,
Kepler,
I agree.
when we talk about Buxton, how healthy has Kepler been?
Kirilloff.
Conforto, we bet on the lottery ticket. Like, let's hope that bet cashes, right?
Kirilloff always hurt. Like a lot of these guys. I agree. I hold on to the depth. I'm here for it.
And that'll do it. We just played general manager with the Minnesota Twins. They won 78 games last year. I would argue we gave them 7 wins.
I think so.
That's our job. We make you better. Twins fans, hope you enjoyed this episode. Fans of other teams, hope you enjoyed how we kind of made our moves, what we're thinking, what other guys are worth. Marlins fans, if I see that you're upset, spare me.
What was the final? Can we wrap up? What was the final trade here? What was the final Pablo Lopez trade?
You're putting me on the spot because you added a bunch of prospects I've never heard of.
I'm switching it up in post production. You're not even gonna know. It's gonna be like voiceovers that sounds nothing like you, like Peter saying, "I'll give you."
Just use the new AI chat GPT filters. Yes. Like, I will give you Nick Gordon and Luis Ariz for Trevor Rogers.
Yeah. Okay, Peter, that sounds great. Like that's what I'm doing in post production.
So it was Luis Ariz. And it was you mentioned some guys.
There's no way. These are like deep cut names. Yes. Marco Raya. I'm actually I'm giving you another one. Jordan Balazovic.
No, I've heard you talk about him before.
He sucked last year.
Yeah, but you like him a lot. And
Not anymore.
Like him,
7.39 ERA. I want
like
Mel
him.
Stoudemire Jr. to get his magic hands on him, though. All right, now we'll leave it as is. I just had to bring it up one more time. But 0-7 last year in AAA with a 7.39 ERA.
Can't get any worse. That's what I have to say. Can't get any worse.
So send him to Miami.
I want to keep him.
All right.
Like him too much.
Yeah.
There's no way. You just gave me the win-loss record and the ERA. I know you got way other shit that you're looking at. You like the
win-loss of the ERA. That's all Thad knows.
That's all
Thad knows.
So thank you guys all for listening to the Just Baseball Show. Of course, we will be back tomorrow with an awesome interview. Cardinals fans, get ready because we're bringing on one of the best players on the Cardinals, and then we're playing GM right before it. It's going to be a great episode. Can't wait for you guys to hear it, so stay tuned, Twins fans. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Arm's wearing his Just Baseball hat. Get yourself some Just Baseball merch in the episode link description, or in the link in the episode description, and we'll be seeing. All right, guys. Thanks so much, and thank you, everybody.